Hi everybody, it's Thursday, February 19th, 2009. Thanks for stopping by. This video is actually for Changeling9AU, who invited me to take a look at his questions for Anti-Zionists and to respond to them. So this is a response to the first part of the video. There's quite a lot in here, so I don't know if I have time to respond to everything, but I'm going to try. First of all, I was impressed by some of your arguments. You seem like a pretty intelligent guy. Even though I can promise you I don't agree with you about very much, I still respect your intellect. Okay, first point. In your description, you mentioned that Martin Luther King said that criticizing Zionism is anti-Semitic. Martin Luther King was a great man. Really great man, personal hero of mine. Not an expert on the Middle East, not known to be really involved in Mideast politics or knowledgeable about the Middle East. It's not known. Perhaps he did in his spare time research this issue, but we don't know of it. Now, that's one thing. The second thing is, Martin Luther King never said that. This is a myth. It's a hoax. Supposedly he wrote a letter to a friend. The letter was never found. There's no evidence that it existed. Supposedly he put it in a book. Well, that book doesn't exist as far as his estate can tell. So this is a myth. Second point, more land owned by Arabs than Jews in Israel, or did you mean a certain part of Israel? Not sure, but so what? What's the fact that they're Arabs have to do with the fact that they own land? If you own something, you own it. I don't see what ethnicity or race has to do with that. I don't know why it would be bad for Arabs to own more land or less land. It's just a fact. They own it, Now, I can tell you, I don't know if that's true, whether they own more land or not. I doubt it. But I can tell you for sure that more Arabs have their houses demolished for no reason, because they don't have building permits, and they don't have building permits because they're Arabs. I know that. Thousands of homes are demolished every year, and there is actually a group in Israel which fights against this, the Israeli Committee Against House Demolitions. Now, either these people are really, really delusional and insane and crazy, or Arabs are having their houses demolished every year because they're Arabs. That's a fact. Okay, anti-hate laws. It's certainly possible that these exist. Maybe they should be doing something about those people in Hebron who are committing what the Prime Minister of Israel recently called a pogrom in the worst sense of the word. I think that is pretty hateful, so probably those people should be arrested, although they haven't been so far. The people in the West Bank are riding Arabs to the gas chambers all over every building that they can find. That's pretty hateful. Maybe something should be done about that. One of the guys who was running for Prime Minister in Israel in the one of the far right-wing parties was talking about giving all Arabs a loyalty test to see if they can keep their citizenship, or talking about solving the demographic problem, right? Because the Arab people are not just people, they're a problem. He was talking about solving that by simply ethnically cleansing all the Israeli Arabs and shipping them out of the country. I think that's pretty hateful. So I think that the police should be probably arresting a lot of people that have been recently running for office on these tickets of anti-Arab radical nationalism. It's not loyal to Israel. Sure, I can buy that. The neocons are only loyal to themselves. America, of course, is not controlled by Israel. Israel is a puppet of the United States. They are our own personal little wrecking ball for the Middle East to suppress radical Arab nationalism, or the crazy idea that Arabs should control what's happening in their own countries and that America should not get their resources for free or for a very cheap price. That's the purpose of Israel. And you know, I agree with you that the neocons are not loyal to Israel. Of course they're not. Some of the politicians in Israel are not loyal to Israel. You know, I think personally that Ilan Pappé and Norman Finkelstein and Noam Chomsky are more loyal to Israel than most of the people running it. That's just my opinion, and I have a perfectly good reason for thinking that, if you want to know. Now, when the guy described the settlements, what he said was really accurate, and I think you know that. I don't think you're really disputing what he's saying, but you are asking, why do the settlers need protection from the dirty, mean old Arabs? Well, the dirty, mean old Arabs are right. It is their land. You know, the settlers are living in their confiscated houses. They're right. You know, and so yes, the standing army is in the West Bank to protect the settlements from the people who own the land the settlements are on, of course. You know, if somebody came and settled your land, you would want it back. And it might take a standing army to stop you. But that doesn't mean you're the bad guy. You know, if somebody stole your property, you would try to get it back. Okay, Christian churches. Well, what I can tell you about Christian churches is that they are Zionists. Okay, this isn't just about you know, good investments for them. Maybe they are investing in things and getting stuff for their money. I don't really know about all that, but I can tell you one thing: they support Israel wholeheartedly, fanatically, very often. And the reason why they support Israel is because they hate Muslims. They believe that the conquering of the Holy Land will bring Jesus, the second coming, and will result in the death of all the Jews, which they're also not that fond of, if the truth be told. So yeah, I mean, this is not some rational business decision on the part of the born-again Christians. This is a religious thing, and so if they're making money off of it, that's great. But it's not about money. It is about religion to them, and about racism, if the truth be told, against Arabs and Jews. Now, about the settlers in Gaza who were ethnically cleansed. Well, ethnically cleansing them was a bad thing to do. I agree with that, but let's not go overboard in our sympathy for them, because we have to remember that these people were ethnically cleansed from other people's land. That was not their land. They were not living in their own houses. They were living in confiscated houses on confiscated land. They were using 40%. Now this is 8,000 people, okay? 8,000 people were using 40% of the water in the whole area. That 1.5 million people had to share the rest of it, okay? It's very unfair. And they used a large proportion of the land, and 1.5 million people had to divide up the rest. And this is 8,000 people. Now, what happened to them when they were rending their hair and gnashing their teeth and shouting "never again"? Well, they were each given $250,000 by American taxpayers to move to the West Bank and confiscate someone else's land. Well, how tragic, huh? I mean, we should all be so oppressed as that. Okay, your claim that the Arabs left their homes of their own accord, this is a very often repeated story, but it's actually a myth. There's no evidence that they left of their own accord. Okay, so that's my response to your questions so far. I will watch the second video and try to respond to it as well. And Thanks for watching.